Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. I'm still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It's still in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. I am T Mosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today we're discussing a model launched back in 2019 in tribute to a 1956 model, the 6073. This is the Vacheron Constantin Fiftysix self-winding, 40 millimeters in diameter in stainless steel. You could see the homage to the vintage model in the profile of the lug hoods, but the watch is very much its own modern timepiece. It stands alone. The timepiece is 9.7 millimeters thick by 40 in diameter, 48 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip. And from end link to end link, the total distance across the wrist is 51 millimeters with a 20 millimeter spacing in between the lugs. I actually like the fact that Vacheron referenced history here without going full historique and doing a retro watch. This feels, looks, and is quite contemporary. On a 16 centimeter circumference wrist, you can see that the lugs come nowhere near the edge of my wrist. The end links of the bracelet are a little bit broader, but still there are no fit issues. And even on the bracelet, I could recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. It is a Vacheron. It does have a relatively flat sub 10 millimeter thickness and a sloped case flank, so it'll slide easily under a dress cuff as a dress watch, especially a Vacheron dress watch should. The bracelet is unusual. These are generally equipped with straps. The bracelet adds greater durability and value over time, as you will not have to continuously pay several $100s every 2 to 3 years for a strap. Now you can see that the design is vintage inspired, but again modern. There's very little play in it. The solidity is impressive. You can see it's a small, staggered alignment, staggered size, staggered finish design that conforms well to the case, as there's no daylight visible between end link and case. There is a very small amount of taper down from the end link to the clasp. You can see that there are primarily polished links, but the center links are the biggest. Second largest links are outboard of those in polish, and then we have the smallest polished links all the way outboard, and then the smallest links overall are these parallel satin finished intermediates. Taking a look, you can see that removable links are fixed by screws, and that there are several of them, including an intermediate size link in case you find yourself in between link sizes. We have a double folding clasp with twin trigger release, so you have to press both, not just one, if you want this to open, giving you great security. In general, twin trigger clasps are most common on sports watches. It's nice to find one on a fairly pricey and weighty dress watch as well. Close them up, and you can see the media blasted Vacheron Maltese cross logo, which is the symbol of the brand. Roll around to the case. You can see that the end link matches both the slope of the lug and then the curvature of the case for a very integrated look. The lugs have a little bit of an undertuck or teardrop. Everything here is in high polish, giving it a lustrous, luxurious look. It has almost a pagoda-like stacking to it, with the flank, then a soft bevel, then the sheer of the bezel, then a flat conical portion, then a very flat portion abutting a dramatically boxed and cambered sapphire that's deliberately designed to look a little bit like a vintage plexiglass. Now here you can see these outcroppings on the lug hoods. These are the elements that reference the 6073. It's a sort of nod and a wink rather than an overt reference. This is not a vintage-inspired watch or a re-edition in the sense of the historique collection, where, for example, the triple calendar 1942 or the 1921 American look almost exactly like their historical prototype. This is more, shall we say, abstract. Now, there is a lovely countersink to the crown, so it doesn't stick out unduly. It has the Maltese cross logo on it. The fact that it's integrated into the case band works well aesthetically. The dial is described as petrol blue, and there are a couple of different finishes. As I move it through the light, you can see that the center dial and the hour track read as different shades. That comes down to different finishing. We do have a blue date disc with white printing. Wonderful, because a lot of brands get this wrong and they'll use a silver or a white disc on every dial color. Not a problem here. There's a piano key style track inboard for reading minutes and seconds, then a more traditional railroad track outboard for reading minutes and seconds. We have applied indices as well as applied Arabic numerals. We'll do a loom shot real quick. This is a sporty dress watch, being automatic, full bracelet, full steel, and quite well loomed. It's not a sports watch, but it's maybe one step back from a sports watch. The only real distinction being that it doesn't have a lot of water resistance. Flip it over. And you can see Vacheron caliber 1326, which is based on the Cartier 1904, which in turn was designed by Valfleurier for Richemont Group companies. Now, let me be clear about this watch. This watch represents that which made Vacheron great for its first 250 years. When you are not a movement manufacturer for a quarter of a millennium, and yet you are part of the Holy Trinity, you know that there's something other than in-house movement making that defines the brand. And literally every great Vacheron of the 40s, 50s, and 60s used a customer caliber modified for Vacheron use. So that's exactly what we have right here. This is caliber 1326, automatic winding, ceramic rotor bearings for high efficiency, a special custom rotor, and nicely done bevels. They're mechanical bevels, but they're very shiny. They don't have the overt milling marks that you can see with the naked eye on, for example, the Cartier version of this movement. This is finished to a higher grade. We have automatic winding of a 48-hour power reserve. We have both quick set date and hacking seconds. It beats away at 4 hertz or 8 beats per second. It pivots on 25 joules, and you can see it has Edicron for fine-tuning of both rate and beat rate. Flip it all over. You can see it includes 2 barrels, which are nicely solarized. The engine turning on the base plate is attractive. The screw heads, although not black polished, are well polished. The stripes, the beveling, all of this looks good. And then there's a snailing on the movement bridges outboard of the stripes. It's a good-looking caliber, and the benefit of the 2 barrels, though it doesn't give you an enormous power reserve at 48 hours, it does make for a very even and flat torque curve. So the amplitude of the balance and the timing of the watch remains very consistent. That's the real benefit of having 2 staggered mainspring barrels in series. It's a good-looking movement and a good-looking watch. And again, a tablissage. We're taking the best parts from the best suppliers and assembling them under one great brand. That has always been the tradition of Vacheron. So if people ever give you a hard time about your Vacheron 56 self-winding not having a manufacturing movement, educate people on the history of Vacheron Constantin. They may learn a thing or two from your watch. Reach out to me. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.